Watcher mateys. Right, today it's the morning. I've just woken up. Bear with me. I'm going to show you at least 3 upscaler workflows. The one is going to be the one I already shared in the last video, which was about fixing faces at a distance. I've got a few apologies to make and a few redactions, and I'll make those after that. So first we're going to talk, just quickly let you know what we're going to look at. This is the pixel space one that I shared already. I've had to fix it up because I made a mistake. I didn't make a mistake, but it didn't actually work with dialogue scenes. It now does, but I wouldn't say very well. So that left me on the search for the next solution, and I went next to Latent Space. And I found a rather good latent space from LBH 123 AI, whoever that is, and got it working, got it tweaked on my setup, and I'll show you that today. And it's pretty good. You can do dialogue, you can do anything. It's fast-ish, but you know, one of the areas drawbacks at the moment for me is to get really good results takes a long time, and I'll be looking at speeding things up later. So get it working now, speed it up later. The coders also help with that. And then finally, the winner and the cream of the crop, thanks to, I don't know how you say his name, ckinpdx. The winner for me so far, and I'll show you examples why, is this one, which involves installing also their stuff. And what this does is context windows. So it means I can get up to 2 MP with dialogue scenes or any scene, and it's relatively fast, which surprised me. It's got context windows, so it spreads like 192 frame 8-second shot over 2 context windows, and uses all your VRAM for each separate section, so you can go high resolution. Perfect when you're upscaling. And I've got to say, the last few days since I last posted a video have been absolute pigs, because upscaling is the worst task there is when you're testing it, because you have to wait for so long to get results, and you don't get the ideal results, and you have to run it again. It's just a pig of a job. So this has been really not a lot of fun. Now the next thing is the complaints department. There's been a few. I make the videos the way I make the videos. If you don't like it, there's videos over there and there's videos over there, and you're welcome to go and find them. I just do it my way, and I don't really care. If you've got a problem with that, I'm really sorry, but I'm probably not the guy for you. And the other thing is, I want to make a redaction, because I've been pulled up on my commentary on Clown Shark Batwing. It's a household name pretty much in Comfy UI. If you haven't heard of it, you should have. But I've never really used it all that much, and the reason being, I always thought it was because it was too heavyweight and it was too complex, and it's not. It's actually, I've been pulled up on this because correctly by Abel Jones Drosbay, because it's actually superior to everything. And one of the problems I have with it is that I don't understand it. So that's what has really been stopping me using it more. And when this all came up, because I used this thing, the Clown Shark scheduler, and I'd made a grave error, and this is where I want to apologise and make a redaction. I'd always made this assumption that basic schedulers denoise. If you put in 0.545, it would start at 0.45, work its way down in that pretty little pattern arc. And you'll see me talk about that a lot. But it turns out that it's starting at 8 point something, and I never looked at this graph when I did that. So I'd always lived on this assumption that any other scheduler does that. Now, if you look at the Clown scheduler, which I've been using, but when I made this comment about going, oh, there's something wrong with it, it doesn't work right, I got jumped on, and rightly so, because actually it works very well, and it does exactly what it says on the tin. And you start at 0.55, it starts at 0.45, and then it gives you this nice, if you've got set to simple, curve that it does, and 3 steps, and la. And so I was trying to swap these in and out, trying to get this to work, because I thought it was better, and then suddenly decided that it was stupid and complained about it, and got taken out the back in the car park and given a treatment which I deserved. So I'm printing a redaction right now, and I'll probably make this its own little video. Clown Shark stuff is worth looking into, but you have to learn it. and it's a learning curve to understand. And that is why so far I've always gone, oh no, not clown shark backwing. And I'll just take it out of all my workflows. But it's me, not clown shark. I just like that known. Moving on. Let us begin the begin. So what we got here, this is the pixel space. This is the pixel space one. And let's have a quick look at it again with the dialogue.
He's drunk. Like you aren't high half the time. Shut up.
I may have had a couple of drinks. I was nervous.
He's drunk. Like you aren't high half the time. Shut up.
I may have had a couple of drinks. I was nervous.
But what you find, and I just want to show you another example with this example, and let me just explain this first, because I want to say one other thing about this. This shows the power of prompting with Minimax. And you watch, I prompted their positions here and I prompted their positions inside the lift, and it did exactly what I requested. So let's have a look at that. But what I'm actually going to point out here, we'll look at that first because it's just so amazing. They position themselves exactly as requested. I mean, that's so good. But let's talk now, because we're here to talk about upscaling. This is upscaled in pixel space with the pixel space workflow. We're talking about the one I shared yesterday, a few days ago in the other video, but it wouldn't work. It would work with this, but wouldn't work with dialogue. It now does. It's not great sometimes, and the reason this is happening is there's movement. The camera's moving and they've got distance, and VLC, that jumps VLC. Yeah, it's not perfect, and unfortunately what I'm finding is I'm now looking for perfection, whereas before that would have just been fine. But yeah, we must look for perfection. I suppose it's part of the deal. So let me talk quickly what I've changed here, and you can go back and watch the other video if you want to know more about how this workflow works, because I'll spend more time on the new workflows, the latent upscaler and the context windows upscaler. So what I did, my error in the last one was I plugged the reference video latent into here, so it was using the reference video and the prompts to add in the mouth movements, and as such it wasn't working on a low denoise setting. So what I had to do was pull out the audio from here, and what this now creates a problem in that if there's silence when what you're trying to upscale is silent, there's no audio, you get an error. So if that's the case, you have to add your own audio in. It can be anything. It can be silence, it can be music, it can be audio, but it's not running through the main process here. So it's not going to add it in as such to drive the image, but you have to put that up to there, and then the audio goes in. The other thing I've done here is I've gone quite high in the sampler steps, and I've showed you that image just now about that. I'm still trying to get my head around denoise versus sigmas, so I don't want to start coming across like an expert on this, and I might reduce this, so mess around with that yourself. And I am finding ER, SDE and beta or beta 57 to be the better choices, but mess around with that too for yourself. Anyway, this is the pixel space. Nothing much has changed in it. I have got an SLA attention node that I put in, but I haven't been using it here. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but it reduces the quality. And since this is upscaling, I don't really want to do that any more than I already am. I have been using the turbo driver. It still takes, like, for an 8-second video to upscale it to whatever I can do in here. That's the other thing. You're limited on what you can do before you hit an oom. An 8-second video, you see there, 192 frames. The most I've been able to get out of it is 1.2. Now I've added this thing in because I'm more and more starting to work in megapixels, because it's starting to make more sense to do that. If you change aspect ratios, you can still work in megapixels. So what I've done here is just change this thing out, so you can put in a megapixels, and it does a little math expression calculation, gives you what it's going to scale the RTX video super resolution up by. Now that's another thing, I don't know if you've got it or not. I like it, some people don't. You can use any kind of upscaler, but it's helped me get rid of the resize image, because Even I read something about downsizing, and even if you downsize, you need to use kind of something to resample it, otherwise you get artifacts. I didn't know that, so that's another thing where you know, we're always learning. No one's the ultimate. Well, there are a couple of ultimate experts, aren't there? But anyway, yeah. So that's that. It's a scaling thing. You only need this if you're going to swap the audio out, add your own audio in if your video is silent. Everything else stays pretty much the same, and I've been doing good prompting with this rather than just what I was doing before. So I think it helps, and as I say, there's some notes in here that should be updated. And I just used a roughly 1 MP standard size, and I'll change that for the aspect ratio and keep it around 1 MP because that's what the model's trained on. That makes sense to me. Again, I may be wrong. Now you'll also notice here I'm using it at max resolution, ref image size. That just add more time to it, but again, we're doing upscaling, so you kind of want it to be the best it can be. That's that for the pixel space workflow. Let's move on to the latent upscaler. This I did use the SLA in. I'm also using previews. I'm going to do a short video on that soon about how to set up the preview. Turns out when you install the preview, it shows up here. So you don't actually need this so much unless you want it all fancy things. But anyway, I'll talk about that in another video. This SLA attention comes from Playkind. I've added links in for that. I don't know what I make of it yet. He's respected in the community. I don't know much about any of this yet, but I did find it did a big speed up, but at a cost. I've got it in here. I don't think I had it enabled when I used it for this run. You're creating the original, and I'm going at 960 by 384. I'm currently working on scenes that are something like 2.50 to 1 aspect ratio. So that's what you're seeing here, quite widescreen, you know, wider than widescreen actually. I just like it. It's so I've just kind of stuck with it. That might be a problem for the model, but it seems to work quite well. But 960 by 384 is what I've been using. If I go lower than that, I don't find it doing quite the quality in the upscale stage here that I want. So if I go higher than that, it takes more time but doesn't improve the quality. So 960 by around that seems to be workable. Of course, probably should be going to 1 MP, but that takes ages, and it's taking long enough as it is. I think this workflow takes me, all the workflows take between 20 and 30 minutes. This one's probably the fastest in that respect because it's going from scratch, nothing, to building it to upscaling it. Whereas the other two, you're upscaling a video in the pixel space, and in the one I'll show you in a minute, you're upscaling a video there too. Now, this is again, everything's the same here. The normal stuff, I'm using INT8 model, INT8 model. I'm using strong prompting, and it goes through the usual speed ups. Let's just say that's disabled, even though you can use it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Goes into the first sampler. I'm using standard ER SDE beta. I probably should put that to 10 steps, but 8's the speed thing, so it's working it for now. These I've left in, I'll probably take them out, but there's actually, again, this is you're in RES for ELF, which Clown, Shark, Batwing and Drozbay's fine work on this stuff, and he discovered that in this model, if your sigmas drop below 1.35, they start doing damage. So that's what that was for keeping it above it. But so far I haven't seen it go much below 4, so it's actually not a situation I've run into yet. 0.4, sorry. First pass out just gives you the opportunity to look at it, and then it goes through the upscaler. Now the upscaler, Latent Space Upscaler, comes from this chap, and he's updating it 2 days ago, but it's pretty good. I tried a few. Mamad, I think, is pretty good, but I couldn't get it working initially and ended up on this one. There's quite a few popping up now, so this, you know, which is the best? Who knows? How long are you going to spend upscaling to find out? This is pretty good. I'll show you the results of this one. Let's quickly do that.
He's drunk, the asshole. Like you aren't high half the time? Shut up.
I may have had a couple of drinks. I was nervous.
He's drunk, asshole. Like you aren't high half the time? Shut up.
I may have had a couple of drinks. I was nervous.
The only minor complaint I had, and it might be because I'm doing something too strong, is this sort of Essex girl look that I was getting here, which is a bit more than I was expecting from. This was what built it, and this is my person here. Now, another thing I'm noticing, I haven't done any experimenting properly yet with the character references. So I've just been using these stand straight full length shots, and I'm fine with it for now, but it is something I'm going to look into, and once the community's kind of settled on best practices, I'm going to look at what the best way to present characters is, whether you need character sheets, close-up faces, or any of that. But so far I've been happy with it. Let's just look at that again.
He's drunk. Like you aren't high half the time? Shut up.
I may have had a couple of drinks. I was nervous.
Yeah, so it's pretty good. I then ended up in conversations with some people, and one person, ckinpdx, I don't know how you say it, popped up and was like, no, try this. And I looked at it and I was like, I can't understand a word of it, which is pretty common whenever I'm looking at new things. But anyway, let's move on to that workflow. This workflow kicks ass. It's really good, but it also took a lot of tweaking, and then it was a happy accident that led me to it working. It worked pretty well. Let's have a quick look at how it goes.
He's drunk. Like you aren't high half the time? Shut up.
I may have had a couple of drinks. I was nervous.
He's drunk. Like you aren't high half the time? Shut up.
I may have had a couple of drinks. I was nervous.
You put an existing video through it. You can argue upper level quality till the cows come home, really. That's got that on the frame width, you know, that is 2224 by 896, and it's rendered up at that speed, and it's rendered through this. But the main thing is that's up at 2MP, as you can see here, and that sold me on it anyway, and especially since it did it at the same speed as the other ones. It's done a 2.3 multiplication of the inbound video that is stuck in here to get it to that size. So it'll automatically calculate what it needs to do to get it to that megapixel, as I said. So what else should I say about this? I've just used the basic speed ups that I've been using all along. I haven't used SLA attention, as you can see. Now with this one, to make it work, how it works is it splits your, I've got 192 frames. You fire it through this and it will split your, I don't fiddle with this, it will split your video into context windows. In this 192 frames get split into two, and then it runs that and runs it in two goes, shoving everything into your VRAM that you would normally do in one go, which is why there was a length issue. Now I suspect, and I haven't tested it, but you could probably do even longer videos with this, even on a 3060 card or a lower VRAM card, because it'll split it. It'll take longer, take a long time, but it will split it into the context windows and then run each one through and then tile it back together. And I didn't really notice the join in the middle of that. Let's have a look at it. About there somewhere would be the join. I didn't notice it. Let's have a look again. No, not noticing any join. I mean, it might be there, but it's very well disguised otherwise. But with this, you need to use one other thing, and you need to use that. I pulled it up there, you can move it where you want. You also need to use his reference setting thing, because the conditions, I'm trying to find out a bit more info on that, how that works, because the only thing that condition set will plug into is the conditioning here. I'll talk about that in a second. But one thing to note is you have to use a batch image to go in, because there's only a single ref image on his node, but it kind of works the same, you just don't realize it, and you can just load up the images here and then target them using the same language, which works fine. As you can see in I've done this in a different shot where it's the lift shot, but the subject using picture 2 or the lobby using picture 1, you know, naming. So using the usual prompt reference guide, will name it with an LLM, will name it correctly, and this will still understand it exactly the same. So it's just a bit of a different layout feature. It's got a couple of different things that I don't understand yet, but you can go and talk to this guy and find out what's going on with that in his GitHub if you need to know more. I found the results of this to be the best of all three. It's the one I'm going to be sticking with. This is only just, I only just finished testing these last night, so I can't really give you more details and more impressions on how good they are at other things. I'm going to be testing it further, but that gives you, I'm really over upscaling. I'm just going to go with what I get. It's nothing's perfect yet in this, and we're still waiting on Minimax to drop their upscaler, though everyone's starting to go, this ain't coming, is it? But who knows? And who knows how good it'll be and how long it will take to get a result. But I think at this stage, you just got to accept it's as good as it gets right now. Other people, you can chase these things forever down rabbit holes otherwise. And I don't really want to do that because I'm starting to really get a bit itchy to get back to content making, because all I'm doing is researching again, which is great, but you get nothing done when you're researching, and there's always more research to do, and someone's always got something that does it better, and it's like, where do you draw the line? So I'm getting close to that point. I'm not there yet because there's a few more things I need, but I think these will probably all update. There'll probably be even new methods, but for now, there's 3 different approaches. All the workflows are going to be shared on my GitHub link and in the links below. You can get them and download them. And I think that'll do for today.
He's drunk. Like you aren't high half the time. Shut up.
I may have had a couple of drinks. I was nervous.
He's drunk. Like you aren't high half the time. Shut up.
I may have had a couple of drinks. I was nervous.
He's drunk. Like you aren't high half the time. Shut up.
I may have had a couple of drinks. I was nervous.